How many of you at some point in your life have gotten to the place where you wanted to die? Quite a few people. And about 50% more that are not raising their hands, okay? And I get it. That's where I was 12 years ago. Because I was at the place where I had the friggin' perfect life. I mean, except for all kinds of money. That was the only thing I was still really struggling with, okay? Because it would come and then it would go. And I was like, wait, it was just here a minute ago. Where the hell did it go? You know, I mean, yeah. See, I even joined puberty again as the money went away. Where did it go? I don't know. I don't know what happened. What happened, you know? But basically, I mean, here I was living in Santa Barbara, this beautiful place. Here I was starting my second chiropractic practice. Here I had this girlfriend. We were on the track to marriage. And everybody used to tell me, oh, you have such a perfect life. And every time they said that, I sank even more because I was like, no, I don't. If it's a perfect life to have all this shit that looks really cool from the outside, but you're dying inside, is that really a perfect life? No. And what I'm here to let you know is, let me tell you what happened, because probably maybe that'll help some of you. What happened was, I got to the place where I was so tired of waking up depressed and unhappy. I said, universe, look, you got 6 months. Either my life changes or I'm killing myself. I've tried AK, I've tried TBM, I've tried soul memory discovery work, I've tried NLP, I've tried from nutrition to spiritual work to energetic work to psychology to NLP to every friggin' thing. I mean, I was like lighting incense. I mean, you should have seen me saging my house, okay? They're like, okay, Dain, here's what you need to do. Okay, now the green sage is okay, but what you need is some white sage. Here's what you do, okay? You live in Santa Barbara, right? Yes, I do. Okay, well, go to the mountains. There's white sage there. And what you do is you say this prayer in this direction. And I'm like, I don't know what the fucking directions are. I'm like, I hope I'm doing the thing right. I'm like, okay, east, and I say this, and then I say this to the sun, I say this to the moon, you know. That was the moon. And I say, you know, and then pick and cut the white sage at the appropriate time and go home and sage your house. And I friggin' saged my house so much, the smoke alarm went off. My apartment manager came over and was like, what is going on? There's smoke coming out of your windows. And I'm like, I'm cleansing my energy. You know, but at that time in my life, it was like, I probably sound kind of funny right now. Not like the smartest person you want to listen to, but it was like at that time in my life, I was looking for anything. And so many people out there had these answers where they went, oh, if you do the sage the right way, then the entities and the energies will go. But it didn't friggin' work. I thought, oh, it feels really nice in here, and I couldn't breathe. I was like, I kind of got down closer to the floor, you know, because the smoke rises, and I'm like, okay, it feels really peaceful here. It's totally awesome in here right now. This is awesome. I love the peace, you know? But it's like, you know, there's so many things that people tell us are supposed to work here because they give us their answer because they're like, oh, this and this and this because this is what's wrong with you. None of it worked for me. And I'm so glad I had some of those insane experiences, you know? It's like between the sage and the patchouli, you should have smelled my friggin' apartment. People would walk in and they'd be like, are you doing some experiment or something? And I'm like, no, I'm cleansing my energy. And so the reason I make fun of it is because I know so many of us have done so many things. And what I'd like you to realize is that it's not you that's wrong, okay? What if there's a different set of tools available as a possibility that will change things? That will take what this sweet, beautiful woman found out and bring it into our friggin' reality. Because if it stays in that realm and it stays in that reality, what does that change about our reality? How many of you have the sense that things are increasing as the year 2012 approaches? Yeah? Yeah, quite a bit, right? Yeah, me too. Same thing. I'm like, oh, baby. Stuff is happening a little faster now. What if what's actually happening is the limitations of the past, the limitations connected to time? Because one thing that's interesting, several things that are interesting that she said, but one that I'll talk about is she said, when we're connected to time, we create all these limitations that don't have to be. Now, she said in the other realm, you don't have to connect to time. I'm like, you know what? I like that. What if we didn't have to connect to it here? What if we could have a totally different awareness of reality here? Some of you right now are trying to get out of your bodies. Some of you are creating a disease so you can get out. And I totally get it. My disease was going to be a way of ending my own life. Let's put it that way. What happened for me was I saw a little ad in the paper that said, access, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Call Shannon. And I was like, did that say kill Shannon? I think it did, because ease and joy and glory. I'm like, my life is pain, suffering, and glory. You don't know what my life is like. And so I literally, and I'm flipping through this independent paper in Santa Barbara, and I grab the paper and I'm like, and throw it away. I'm like, oh man, and I leave my house and I'm like, and I'm flipping through the same paper the following week. And I come across this little 2-line classified ad, the cheapest friggin' ad anybody can buy in the world, okay? And it says, access all of that comes to with ease and joy and glory. Call Shannon. And I was like, kill Shannon. And I was like, but I realized long before that if you love something or hate it, there's something there for you. So I called her and I made an appointment. And while I was on the phone with her, I said, okay, so let me ask you this. What the heck is it you do? She said, I do access. I'm like, that doesn't fucking help me. What do you do? She said, well, we do all kinds of stuff, but one of the places we might start is with this thing called the bars, which is these 32 points on the head. And when you hold them, she's like, the electromagnetic component of thought goes away. I'm like, the hell does that mean? Like, what are you talking about? She's all, well, you know all the positive and negative stuff? You know where you feel really positive and then you feel really negative? I'm like, yeah, that's my life. She went, it goes away. I went, really? And it struck something in me and kind of opened my heart a little bit. And I went, okay, so what's the effect? And she said, well, at the worst, you'll feel like you had a good massage. At the best, your whole life will change. And in the back of my head, I'm going, my whole life better change or I'm killing myself. What do I have to lose? So I go and I have a session with this girl. And I'm laying down on my own table in my own office that is smaller than this friggin' room. Okay?
That's pretty big.
Right? Hey? That's quite the office, man. Dr. Dain Heer. His second practice is in a closet. Okay, good. And I lay down, and the thing is, I traded these sessions with her because I couldn't afford them at the time. Okay? I lay down, she puts her hands on my head, and I start giggling like a little kid. And I'm like, hee, hee, ha, hee, ha. And she moves her hands and I start giggling again. I'm like, until an hour and 15 minutes later, I get up and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have to kill myself. The space I've been looking for my whole life actually exists on this fucking planet. And by the way, if you have a problem with the 4-letter word, the F word, the fuck word, I apologize. So everything that makes that a judgeable offense in your world, everywhere where you were told that you were wrong for saying it, so you need to make other people wrong for saying it. Which, by the way, is the way judgment works. Judgment rolls downhill. You know what I mean? Like when you're made wrong for something, then you have to make other people wrong for it to prove that you got it right when they were judging you for it. So now you're not wrong for it, so you don't have to judge you for it anymore. When you're in prison of it, you have to make it wrong because judgment rolls downhill. Everything that is, times a godzillion. Will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now what I just did is something called a clearing statement. What does a clearing statement do? It changes shit, okay? It's basically like that. It's like I call up something like the judgment rolling downhill and it brings up an energy in your world. Do you notice? And what happens is, or I say the word fuck and it brings up another energy in your world. And you ought to be able to be in the presence of anybody saying anything and have it not faze you. You ought to be like, okay, if you must say fuck because that's what you need to do, okay, fine. If you must be mean because that's what you need to do, okay, fine. There should be nothing that makes you put up your dukes and get the hackles on the back of your neck standing up, okay? And what this does is change it so none of that has to occur. When you function from that, and so the way it works is we're asking the energy to go back in time to where you put in place this block, this limitation, this thing that's stopping you, this thing that's sticking you, this thing that's making you go into judgment, and dissolve it. It's basically we say something, or I'll say something. We could say something if we wanted to, but since I'm talking, I'll say something. It'll bring up something, and then it's like a big vacuum cleaner that goes, bye, like that. That's really what it does, okay? Haven't you wanted a vacuum cleaner for the crap in your life? I mean, really, how many of you knew when you were little kids you ought to be able to go, presto, changeo, and change stuff? How many of you? Okay, the rest of you? Are you kidding me? I mean, really? You haven't thought that in your life? Or you're too politically proper when you're in public to raise your hand for something like that. Which is it? Okay, cool. So everything that doesn't like to have the joy of raising your hand and making a complete ass of yourself and enjoying it. Will you just run it greater, please? Yes. Right, wrong, good, bad, pod, and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And if you feel I'm making you wrong for not raising your hand, please know I'm not. It's just that you have something to contribute to this world. Whether you've acknowledged it or not, you have something to contribute. You have something to gift. You have something that's a possibility. And it may be that you've not been invited to it. It may be that you made yourself like, no, you know what, I'm just going to hang back here because I'm so tired of being judged by people. But you know what? You have something to contribute. Wow, that's awesome. That was cool. And you may not know what it is, but what if you could ask that it awaken tonight somehow? Everything that doesn't allow it, times a gazillion. Will you destroy and grade it, please? Okay, so access consciousness is the work that I do. And literally, after this first session, my life not only started changing, but then the girl that I did the session with started giving me tools, and it started helping me in the trenches of life. And one of the things she said was 98% of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions don't belong to you. And if you're willing to ask this question, who does this belong to? When you're in the middle of your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your judgments, your traumas, your dramas. She said, if it lightens up at all, it's not yours, just return it to sender. I'm like, but if I don't know who that is? She went, 98% of it, you won't know who it is. Just return it to whoever it belongs to, because if it's not yours, you can't do anything about it. How many of you have spent your lives buried in other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions, thinking they were yours? Everything that is, times a gazillion. Will you destroy and grade it, please? Yes. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Oh, by the way, this clearing statement, all you have to do is say all the weird stuff Dain said last night, and it still works. Or you can say pod and pock, which is basically the essence of it, and it still works. Pod and pock. P-O-D and P-O-C. Pod and pock, all that. Okay, and it still works. And what this is about is you having the capacity to change the things in your life you want to change. Okay, because from my point of view, what we need is the awareness that change is possible. The awareness that we can change the things we wanted to change, that probably a lot of us have really tried to change, and we're so tired of friggin' trying to change it because the stuff we tried that people said this will definitely work didn't actually work. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, cool. So, okay, would you like to come up? The question is, have you had enough to drink to come up? Is that okay? Okay. So I asked about changing that as one possibility. There may be something else though. So here's the way I start every session usually. And usually every class I do and blah, blah, blah. And at this point, it's like, I'm so busy traveling around the world delivering classes that it's like, it's this interesting thing to see how people in this part of the world and people in this part of the world and people in this part, people all over the world have such a similar sense. That's what I was going to say, exactly. And such a and Sweden too, or Denmark. Wow, they're not only drunk in Denmark, they're angry. It's really interesting. It's like an awesome combo. Here in Australia, you're like drunk, you're like, hey, no worries, mate. Out there. But in Denmark, man, they're drunk and angry. It's like not a good combo. So, but in all parts of the world, it's like people are looking for the tools to actually change things. So, in addition to this whole drinking thing we talked about, how much have you had? No, just kidding. No. Not that much. I know. See, but here's the thing: is her normal personality is like, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Nice to see you." Like she's just like a big kid, right? A really hot, beautiful kid, okay, but like a big kid. I mean, what if your personality as your big kid could be there a lot more of the time? Would it make it more fun to be alive? Okay, so wherever you've given that up, wherever you've decided that kid can't exist because somewhere it was made wrong, somewhere somebody didn't validate it, somewhere somebody totally invalidated it and tried to destroy you in the process because they'd killed their kid long before you ever came along. Will you destroy and create all that, please? Yes. Times a godzillion, right? Wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, pock, shorts, boys, and beyonds. So in addition to the whole drinking thing, if you could have anything out of this, what would it be? Breathing more fresh air. Put it that way. Because Eloise has seen me do this before because I smoke. So that's another judgment thing. Okay, let's change it. Let's make it loving myself and not judgment. That would be a great thing to get out of tonight. Okay, that. Loving myself and not judgment. What if we all had that? Yeah, that would be a good thing. I mean, imagine if you woke up tomorrow and there were no judgment of you or anyone or anything in your world at all.
I could have a drink at 9 o'clock.
I'm totally going to change the tagline to the work I do. Access consciousness, making the world safe for alcoholics. Awesome. That'll totally work. I'm sure about this.
Okay, sorry. No more jokes.
Are you kidding? Please keep the jokes coming. See, because the jokes, it's like, why would we do no more jokes?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there are times when you're supposed to be serious, but they're not nearly as many as we try to make our lives, you know? What if your life were actually about the lightness of it and the joy and the possibilities that could exist? And what if it's no longer a wrongness to actually have that? And what if you having that creates a change in the world? And if you notice, if you were to have more of that, would it create more of a change in the world? Yeah, would the world be a happier place? Are you aware the world needs to be more of a happy place? It's like, I'm sorry, 7 billion of us unhappy and pissed off? It doesn't really do much for the planet, you know what I mean? I mean, they've done numerous scientific studies, and they've found that if you direct anger at a plant, you kill it. If you direct judgment at a plant, you kill it. What the heck do you think it does to the earth to have 7 billion of us being angry and judgmental or sad so much of the time? What? We're killing this beautiful living thing that is underneath our feet, that desires to give to us more than anything else you could imagine, and we act like it's a dead rock and we don't receive anything from it. So let me ask you a question, just because we can. Right now, would you be willing to undo what doesn't allow you to receive and doesn't allow your body to receive from this beautiful planet of ours? Okay, it's got a thrum, it's got a vibration, and that vibration is the same vibration your body should have. Can you imagine right now if you were to tap into your biggest best friend called the Earth and not ever let that connection go again? Everything that doesn't allow it, everything that doesn't allow your body to dance to the beat of this beautiful drummer called our planet, everything that makes that too woo-woo, everything that makes you think you're going to have to think about it and figure out how, there is no how. The universe's job is to provide the how. You just ask, you pod and pock, and then you receive. Okay? And pod and pock is right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. But you don't have to say all that. You just go pod and pock. So everything that doesn't allow you and your body to connect with this beautiful planet, to receive from it, and to receive its energy and vibration, will you destroy it and create it, please? Yes. Times a godzillion. And a godzillion, by the way, is a number so big only God knows. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Thank you. Pod and pock. P-O-D and P-O-C. And I've noticed that in several countries where I travel, it doesn't matter what I say because the accent translates it anyway. So spelling it often helps. So it's P-O-D and P-O-C. If you want an explanation of it, I've given you the quick explanation. It goes back and changes the past so that there's a different present and a different future. On my website, drdainheer.com, if you go to the free stuff section, you might get arrested. Apparently you're weird enough to draw the cops. That's awesome. Yes. Okay, cool. Did you scoot over? 'Cause, sweetie, I understand. I'm sweaty too. Huh, we have something in common. Yeah, exactly. As soon as the cop showed up, she got sweaty. I wonder what that means. So if
the
you...
good thing is, if I'm getting loving myself and no judgment, then everyone in the room is getting it.
Yep. You are correct.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Do I do face down?
I think you're doing okay with... yeah, would you do face down? You might want to take your shoes off, if you would, please. You might want to take the dress off. I'm just sorry.
It's not that kind of face down, or you do face down? Okay.
It's not that kind of myself.
Drop it.
So, one of the things that happened was I started... So I was this chiropractor doing my thing, and I had... After I'd done a couple of the beginning Access classes, the founder of Access asked for a session in my office. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I mean, I was insecure about myself as a chiropractor, okay? And here he comes, and he's like, hey, come, I want to do a session. I'm like, really? Does you want to go to somebody else? You know? And he said, look, the first and by the way, would you be willing to receive everything that's possible? Not just the thing about drinking, but the thing about living and actually enjoying you, and actually seeing the beauty of you, not just the physical beauty, but the being that you be, the gift you are to the world. Thank you. Times a godzillion, right? Wrong about all nine, pod, puck, shorts, boys and meons. And so what happened was he said, look, I was doing Network Chiropractic at the time, and there are 3 levels of care. And he said, you need to go straight to the 3rd level because the first 2 don't work on me. And in my head, I'm going, oh, shit. Because I'd never started studying that level. So I had no idea what to do. And he said, look, just ask my body, follow the energy, you'll know what to do. And I was like, me? I'm like, you have no idea who I am. I'm like the redheaded stepchild of every technique I've ever done. I was the guy who was in such judgment of me. No matter what I did, I was like, I'm a dummy. Okay, thank you very much. You know, like I'd go to these network seminars where this really nice doctor would be like, do you feel the rapport here in the body? And they'd go like this, and I'd put my hand on it and I'd go, oh yeah. Oh, I totally feel it here. And they'd be like, Dain, the rapport is down here. And I'd be like, oh, what I meant was I feel it right here. You know, it's like I had no idea what they were talking about. So I was this redheaded stepchild, you know. It was like I felt like I couldn't do anything right. And so I work on him, and I'm standing at one point about 15 feet away from him, and he starts flopping on the table like a fish. And my hand is in the air, and and he's face down, so he can't see me. So he's not making this up, you know what I mean? It's not like, hey, let me make this guy feel good about himself. He has no idea what I'm doing. And I turn my hand to the left, and he lifts his head up and turns it to the left, the other left, the right left, yeah. And then I lift my hand and turn it to the right, and he lifts his head and turns to the right. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I mean, and I realized that because always before I thought you had to actually touch somebody to create a connection. You had to touch somebody's body to create a result. And I realized as I'm standing 15 feet away from him, that's not the case. So what's the theme of tonight? Being you, right? So let me ask you a question. If you were truly being you, who would you be? Everything that doesn't allow that to show up, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and meons. If you were truly being you, what would you be?
Yourself.
What's that?
Yourself.
Yeah. Whatever that is. Everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, will you destroy and uncreate it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and meons. If you're truly being you, where would you be? Here and everywhere. Everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, will you destroy and create it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and meons. If you're truly being you, when would you be? Now and wherever, whenever. Everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, will you destroy and create it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and meons. If you're truly being you, why and how would you be? Everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, will you destroy and create it, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and meons. Do you know one of the biggest things that is in the way of you being you? Your judgments. Every time you judge, you take yourself away from being you. How many judgments have you done of you just today? Maybe more than a few. So everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and create it, please? Yes. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and meons. So do me a favor, everybody. Close your eyes, please. And if you would be willing to allow all of your judgments of you to simply float away for a little bit. Just for a little while, just for a few minutes. Just maybe for the remainder of tonight while you're here. Don't worry, you can pick them all back up as you leave if you want to. Your choice. Because I know how fun it is to fit in by judging you. It's awesome. That way you make sure you're not nearly as weird and different as you actually are. We allow the barriers that you usually hold up around you to keep you separate, to keep you socially appropriate, to keep you being the right person you're supposed to be. Will you lower those for a moment? Thank you. And will you allow your body to receive what I'm sharing with her body, even if it makes no sense, and it's just a choice? And what is the one or two things that you've wanted to change that you haven't ever told anybody? Maybe including you. And what is it that would actually allow it to change that you've never known and never been able to receive that might be possible to open up and receive now? Everything that doesn't allow it, can we together please destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And would you just, for a couple more minutes, keep your eyes closed and just notice what you're noticing in your body, and if you're able to receive some of this energy that I'm sharing with her, what if we're like drops in the ocean? But what if rather than us being a drop realizing there's an ocean, what if we're simultaneously aware of us as the drop and us as the ocean? What would you change and what would you ask for if you could have anything from tonight? How many of you have decided that you don't really care that much about change? You're not really caring that much about changing the world because it seemed like an impossible task for far too long. Seems like there's too much to change. So if you can just get your part and die before things get too bad, it'll be okay. Everything that is times a godzillion, will you destroy and create it, please? So we have a fighting chance. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Would you be willing to allow me to contribute some change to your world that might allow you to know more of you? Yes? Yes? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. So whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes, but allow yourself to have soft focus. Rather than staring up here to try to figure out if anything's going on. So one of the things that I found when working on someone was, it's like they sit on the table as one person and I say, hey, if you could have anything out of this, what would it be? And basically what they say is, I'd like to be here. And I'm like, okay. So somehow the energy starts. And just by both of us together going, okay, cool, let's go there. And the energy starts. And then what would happen is I'd come up to a barrier. I'd come up to a place where they decided they couldn't do it, or decided they were wrong, or decided they weren't enough, or decided there wasn't enough, or decided there wasn't a possibility. And what I always used to do is I used to go into, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Why is this not happening? Why am I too stupid? Why am I not smart enough? Why am I not bright enough? Why do I not have enough energy? And it took me a long time before I realized that that was actually where they were functioning. That's why the energy stopped. That's what was keeping them from going from here to here. Does this make sense to you? Okay, does this make sense to you in some sense, hopefully in your own life? Yes? Yes. Okay, so what I learned that I could do, and this is part of being you, what I learned that I could do by being me was instead of try to fight that barrier and try to make it wrong and everything, what I did was I lowered all my barriers and I would perceive it. Like, have you ever been with somebody who's got all kinds of barriers up to you and you're like, why? You want to change it, but you don't know how? What you do is lower all your barriers and be totally present with what's going on and just be there. And this works also, it's interesting because there are some, a lot of practitioners in the room that work with bodies, that work with physical ailments and that sort of stuff, or work as chiropractors, or work as acupuncturists, or work as other kinds of therapists with physical modalities. This works with those too. You get to a place with somebody's body or somebody's life, and if you just be there, totally present with them in all of their judgments, in all of their barriers, and all their problems, and just be there. And don't judge it, but just be with it. And just be with it. It changes.